This is Matt at the Vegas Golden Knights Montreal Canadiens game, and you're watching Post to Post.
Hello and welcome to Post, the channel where we discuss all things hockey and all teams. Now, if you've watched the recent podcast, then you'll know that this series was coming. If you didn't see it, this is the report card series where I'm going to review every single team in the National Hockey League, starting with the 15 that didn't make the playoffs. Now, you might say, okay, well, the season's not over. Why are you making these videos already? There's still, as I'm filming this video, most teams have 3-4 games left. Why are you filming the video when the season's not over? There's things that you don't know yet. Well, that's true, but the main reason is I don't have time to film 23 videos, 15 for non-playoff teams, and then 8 for the series, one video for each series, between the time that the season ends and the time that the playoffs begin. So in this situation, I'm going to be talking about Montreal. I'm starting with Montreal. They're my favorite team. This is going to be the longest of all of the 15 teams that didn't make the playoffs. I know the most about Montreal. I've seen every single game this season except for one, and it's going to be more in depth than all the rest, so it's going to be a little longer. It's going to be a little clumsy. I do apologize for that, but I am going to do every single team not in the playoffs before the playoffs actually begin. So thing number one, you don't have to request that I do this for every single team because I'm going to. Once the playoffs are over, I'm going to do it for the other 16 teams, or I may start to do it as the teams get eliminated. Hypothetically, if Philadelphia gets eliminated in the first round, I'll do their seasonal report card whenever they get eliminated. So they'll slowly kind of come out until the end of the playoffs. There's going to be a lot of videos released. Like I said, 23 videos, basically from now until the time the playoffs start, which should be about 8 or 9 days from now. We don't exactly know when the playoffs are going to start, which specific day. It should be Wednesday or Thursday. Probably going to be Thursday around that 9-day mark. So there's going to be a lot of videos releasing on this channel. I wanted to start this soon, and that's really the main reason. So I'm not going to take up your time anymore. I do apologize for dragging that out a little bit. I'm going to jump into the Montreal Canadiens here. So on this side, you can see last year's statistics for the Montreal Canadiens. I'm going to compare how they did this year to last year. And over on this side, you'll see this year's statistics, and it's going to display a green if they did better in that specific statistic, or it's going to display red if they did worse in that specific statistic. It's hard to say. Okay, and there's 1, 2, 3, 4. There's a whole bunch here. Just please be patient, and if I thank you in advance for being patient. Okay, so last year they actually came in 7th of all 30 teams, because Vegas didn't exist. Remember that, there's only 30 teams. They came in 7th last year. This year, here's a statistic that could potentially change. Like I said, the season's not over yet. So I'm going to say that a couple of times this video, so I remind you guys, the season's not over. Some of these statistics will change. If you're watching this a week, 2 weeks, a month after the season has ended, these will not match the end of the seasonal statistics, but they're going to be so close, it's really not going to make that much of a difference. So 7th last year in the league, 28th. Currently, they're sitting at 28th in the league. That is an egregious drop in position in the league from year to year. That's if we look at Colorado and how bad they did last year and how good they're doing this year, that's still not as a significant drop as Montreal right now, from how well they did last year to how poor they did this year. Montreal and Chicago have a similar series, so the Chicago video is going to be interesting as well. Points, 103 last year, 68 this year. Goals for, 226 last year, 197 this year. If you look at the ranking for goals for, they were 15th last year. They are 30th this year, almost dead last. That's unbelievable. Goals against last year, 200. Goals against this year, 246, and the season's not over. They were ranked 3rd last year in goals against. This year, they're 25th. Differential last year, they were a plus 26. This year, they are a minus .53. That is an insane difference from year to year. Last year, their differential, they were 8th in the league. This year, 29th in the league. Power play. Here we go. Finally, we get to a positive. Their power play was 19.7 last year, and this year it was 21.3. So this is our first improvement. Yay! This is much due to the recent success of Galchenyuk, Drouin, and Petrie cycling the puck on the power play. In the past month and a half, they've really found a lot of chemistry between the three, and Gallagher in front of the net as well. So the little jump in percentage here is mainly due to that bit of chemistry late in the season, but still nothing to get excited about. So last year they were 13th. They were ranked 13th in power play, and this year they're 12th. So another positive. They jumped one spot. And back down to the negatives here. 81.1% last year on the penalty kill. 74.3. That is a huge. That might not seem like a lot, but from year to year, that's huge. That's like a 7 to 8 point gap there, or difference there. That's crazy. 74.3% on the penalty kill this year. 14th, they were ranked last year on the penalty kill. This 30th. This is the situation that they're in. They're falling so far in all of these categories. 30th in penalty kill this year. It's unbelievable. Okay, shots per game last year, 30th. Shots per game this year, 32.7. That's technically a plus, but it's not really a stat that you're not really trying to get in a crazy amount of shots per game. So I'm going to count it as a plus because they don't have anything else to be plussed about other than their power play. But I'm going to count this as a plus, but don't take it too seriously. Last year, shots per game ranked, they were 18th. This year, they're 10th. That's a huge jump. Okay, shots against per game last year, 29.6. This year, 32.4. So last year they were ranked 11th. This year, 22nd in shots against per game. And the final statistic here, face-offs last year, 50.3. And this year, 47.6. That, again, that doesn't really seem like a lot, but from year to year, that's actually pretty significant as far as face-off percentage goes. And last year, they were 13th in the league at face-offs, and this year they're 29th. Like I said, it's that little bit of percentage really makes a huge difference. So now that we've viewed the team statistics from last year to this year, it's quite apparent that it's not just a penalty kill that's suffering. It's more than that. It's the scoring, it's the defense, it's the goaltending. I'll get into goaltending here in a little bit, don't worry. There's so many aspects of the team that are underperforming, and I have some notes here at the end which are kind of talking points, I guess. And I'm going to go over some of the things like trades and non-trades and non-signings and signings. Anyways, I want to talk about the players right now. So from top to bottom, most points to least points. I don't have all the players here, but I have most of them. So Gallagher has 51 points. He leads the team in points. Galchenyuk with 49 is in second. Next we have Drouin with 43. Petrie has 39. When you have a defenseman that's fourth on your team in points, it's not unusual, but I would say it's uncommon for most teams. Now there are teams like Nashville and a few others who have amazing offensive defensemen. I wouldn't put Montreal in that category, so the fact that there's a defenseman in fourth with only 39 points speaks volumes, really. Pacioretty is next with 37, Byron 34, Hudon 30, Danault 25, Andrew Shaw 20, Lehkonen 19, Weber 16. So I understand there's some injuries there. Pacioretty was injured, Drouin was injured for a while, so there are some injury things here. Weber was also injured basically the entire season. So some of these players can be forgiven. However, not all of them. The only real bright point here is Gallagher. 30 goals. I think his previous best was 24, and his previous most points was 47. So he's already broken his career best, and he's got 3 games left as I'm making this video. Like I said, season's not over. Just another reminder. If we move on to goaltenders, Price has played 47 games. He was injured quite a bit this season, so he's not up to his usual games played. Usually he'd be around between the 60 and 65 range. He's got 16 wins, only 16 wins, 25 losses, 3.05 goals against average, .902 save percentage. Those two statistics are the worst in his career. Now, he's not old. He's, what, 29, 30? He's not old. That's the worst in his career. I don't know if you guys remember, but Price was not very good his first 2 or 3 years in the NHL. He was actually pretty bad. There were some growing pains for sure. So the fact that this year was his worst year statistically is really scary for the future, considering he just signed that $10.5 million contract for the next 7 or 8 years. Scary stuff. If we jump over to Niemi wasn't with the team when the season started. He joined the team, I don't know, maybe 15 games in or something like that. I can't remember. He started with Pittsburgh, then he went to Florida, then he ended up in Montreal. He actually ended up playing 18 games with Montreal, 6 wins. That seems like not very many, but he only has 5 losses. He has more wins than losses, and I think he had 4 or so overtime. I can't remember. He has 18 games played. He started 16. Anyways, 2.42 goals against average, .931 save percentage. That save percentage is the best save percentage in Antti Niemi's career. His entire career, that's his best save percentage with the Montreal team in front of him. So that really tells you that it's not Niemi's fault that Montreal didn't do well when they played Niemi in net. They actually did pretty good because he's got more wins than he has losses. So I really don't blame Niemi at all. Niemi had a much better year than Price. Even when Price was healthy and in net, confidence issues, fatigue issues. It just seemed like Price never found his game the entire season. It was very, very frustrating to watch because when you see Price, that name on the back of the jersey, you expect amazing goaltending, and then it doesn't happen, and then it doesn't happen, and then it doesn't happen in your 6 or 7 games of watching Price, and it's a nightmare. It really is. It's scary. So now that that's all done, I have some talking points. So here are the things that I think contributed in a way to Montreal's demise this year. Markov gone. I'm not going to talk about the reason because I don't know specifically what the reason is. Both parties say different things. I don't know. I wasn't there. I'm not an insider. I'm just a guy making videos on YouTube. So I don't know. But Markov's gone. That's what I do know, and that's a problem. Same with Radulov. Exact same situation. Both sides said different things. Couldn't get him signed. He went to Dallas. He's having a pretty good year. His offensive production would be incredible in Montreal this year, but he walked. Who was his replacement? Ales Hemsky. He played 7 games with Montreal, then get injured. Frustration. No replacements. There were, outside of Hemsky, who didn't really play for Montreal, other than those 7 games, there were no replacements for Markov and Radulov. That hurt the team immensely. Price injured and poor play. I already kind of talked about that. Weber injured. This is something that couldn't be avoided. He hurt his foot in the first game of the season, I think. Tried to play through it, ended up hurting it more. Had to get surgery. He's currently on a walking boot, I think. It stays on for another 6 weeks. So that was just wiped that year right off of his career because he didn't really do anything. He played, I don't know, less than 20 games, I think. Maybe around 16 games or something like that. I can't remember. But yeah, it was a frustrating year for Weber and bad timing for Montreal. Or maybe good timing because he wasn't really missing out on anything because Montreal wasn't winning. So Pacioretty was injured as well most recently. And he was invisible even when he was there. Such a streaky player. Probably the most streaky player in the NHL by far, maybe. Tarasenko's really streaky as well. But Pacioretty is... it's so frustrating watching Pacioretty because he'll have streaks of 6 or 7 games and get 14 points and then not get any points for 19 games. I don't understand it. It's so frustrating. Drouin, which is his first year in Montreal, he had no talent support. Drouin is a magician with the puck, but he has no one to play alongside him with the same skill set. Everyone who plays with him is kind of playing catch-up, and Gallagher can keep up speed-wise, but it feels a little clumsy. So Drouin was playing in the top role, and he's not a top role kind of guy. He's a secondary guy. He needs that talent to play with. He doesn't have anyone to support him, and that's I don't really blame Durant. He made a lot of egregious defensive mistakes, but he did a lot of good things with the puck too, and not just offensively, playmaking and stuff like that. So I'm going to give him a pass this year. I want to see what happens next year, maybe the year after. He has a lot of potential. Position inconsistency. Durant and Galchenyuk. Are they a center? Are they a winger? Do you know? Because I don't. And neither does Claude Julien, neither does Jonathan Durant, and neither does Galchenyuk. They play them at center. They switch them to the wing. It's just been a carousel of positions all season long. I don't blame them for struggling when you're switching positions on them all the time. I don't get it. The penalty kill was an absolute disaster. It dropped from, what did I say? 14th to 30th, 81% to 74%. Just not good. No offensive puck-moving D outside Petrie. Weber would be considered a puck-moving defenseman. I don't like that term, puck-moving defenseman, but I'm going to use it because it does make sense. Weber was injured, obviously. Petrie was the only puck-moving defenseman they had. Jamie Benn can contribute sometimes when he wants to, but other than Petrie, there's no offensive help on the back end, and that really hurt Montreal this year. They sold at the deadline, which I don't really blame them. I wanted them to, but they didn't make a move to even try and get better at the deadline, I felt, other than get a pick, which obviously doesn't help the current situation. No center depth whatsoever. Again, name me a center in Montreal. I mean a true center. Name me a true center in Montreal. Who is it? Plekanec? Oh, right. Plekanec's not on the team anymore. So who else? Yep, didn't think so. Okay, moving on. The last thing I have on this list is a little statistic here. And this might change by the time you're watching this. Again, a reminder, the season's not over. Montreal's best offensive player, which is Brendan Gallagher, who has 51 points. If you compare him to everyone else in the league, so if you go on NHL.com, go to stats, go to points, McDavid's in first, and everyone else is behind him, where does Gallagher place compared to the rest of the league? Excuse me. I'm still kind of coming over a cold here. Gallagher places 97th. Montreal's best offensive player barely cracks the top 100 in points this year. The whole league. Frustrating. Very, very frustrating. As a fan, it's been a very tough year. I have hope. There are a lot of pieces on Montreal that have had chemistry in the past, who can have chemistry again. On paper, it's a team that is much better than they were physically this year. Pacioretty can be dynamite. Weber's solid. Still not happy about that trade, but that's a video for another time. Carey Price in that, if he plays at Carey Price, he's awesome. Petrie's a great secondary support guy in the back end. They need someone else though. If they can get the right pieces, if they can get a true number one center, John Tavares, I think that they'll be able to really put together a team that could get back in the playoffs. They're going to need more support. They have really no one in the minors. Who are they going to draft this year? Right now they are, I think, fourth last in the league or something like that, which means I can't remember the most recent projections for what draft pick goes where. I know it's like Dolan and Zadina and I think Kachuk and someone else. I can't remember. That it changes like every 2 weeks. It seems it changes a little bit. So I'm not sure who they're going to draft. You don't know who they're going to draft unless you're watching this video after the draft. And you very well maybe. This is it's a report card video. I'm talking about the entire season, so this could get views well after the day that I release it, and that's okay. Just another reminder, season's not over. Some of the statistics that you've heard in this video will have changed by the time that you watch this, potentially. So I am going to do this for every team, like I said. Every single team that didn't make the playoffs, I'm going to do it. So there's 15 teams. This is video number 1, which means there's 14 videos to come. And then there's going to be another 8 videos coming talking about predicting every single series. So 4 series in the East, 4 series in the West, that makes 8. So those 8 videos plus the 15 videos makes 23. tons of videos coming out very soon. So I appreciate your patience and getting. I appreciate your patience while I film and edit and release all of these. I know that some of you are going to want me to do Vancouver next because you want me to do it and you don't want to wait. Just they're all coming out so quickly. You're not gonna have to wait long, regardless of what team you cheer for. So I appreciate your patience. I appreciate your patience if you've made it through this video. Like I said at the beginning, it was going to be clumsy. It was clumsy, but it's over now. So congratulations, you've made it. Yeah, it's just if you're a Canadiens fan like me, it's a tough year. Let's put it behind us. Let's look forward to the off season. I don't know if Marc Bergevin's going to be there. I assume he will be. Hopefully he makes some moves. Hopefully he drafts correctly. Hopefully he makes some moves at the draft to help the team move forward outside of draft picks, maybe some trades. Fingers crossed. Fingers crossed. I think that rival fans, so if you're a fan of Boston, if you're a fan of Toronto, if you're an Ottawa fan, these teams have rivalries with Montreal. If you're fans of these teams, it's always nice in a way to see the teams that you hate do poorly, like the Canadiens did this year. However, there's also another side of it, and I think that kind of, I can explain it like this. Montreal and Toronto have had a rivalry for literally ever. Toronto was a pretty abysmal team for the past, I don't know, 20, 25 years. They've only recently started to be seriously competitive on a consistent basis these last 2 years. As a Canadiens fan, you'd think that that would upset me, but in fact, it actually makes me happy because I think it makes the games between Montreal and Toronto more competitive. And not just Montreal, Toronto, but Toronto and anyone. So I think that if you are a fan of Boston, if you are a fan of Toronto, if you are a fan of Ottawa, I think you are happy that Montreal is not doing very well, but you're also a little sad because that competitiveness between our two teams is now kind of missing. Think back to the Montreal-Toronto games this season. Were they memorable? I don't think so. I don't remember a single point of those games that was memorable. Same with Boston. I don't remember anything. I think the love of the rivalry is when both teams are competitive. So I hope that Montreal gets at least good enough that our teams can have a bit of rivalry back and have some close games and just have that fight back into us. So here's hoping for Montreal next season. Thanks guys for watching. I really appreciate it. Like I said, lots of videos coming, so keep an eye out for that. If you're not subscribed, I hope you can hit the subscribe button so you can watch a video on your team and hear my thoughts. And if you like this video, please hit the like button. That helps us a lot. And I'll see you in the next one. Adios.